Let's go to how to talk to an online lead. So you put together an ad, you start to have some leads come in, same principles, right? A lead comes in, they're interested in 123 Buttonwood Street. First question, my favorite question to ask. So you have a cold lead that comes in. Cold means you don't know anything about them. You're talking to them for the very first time. All right, my favorite question. Tell me about your situation. What are you trying to achieve? Step one, let them talk. Based on what their answer is, that is going to unlock the next series of questions for you. You're doing a needs analysis, right? That's what this is called in sales, is you're asking questions of your prospects to find out what their situation is. That way you can understand how you need to help them. So tell me about your situation. What are you trying to do? Well, right now we're renting, but my wife's pregnant again, and so we need more space, and so we're looking for a 4-bedroom home with a pool. Okay, fantastic. What's your timeline look like? Do you currently own? Do you currently rent? Do you need to sell in order to buy? If you're renting, when does your lease expire? If your lease expires 9 months from now, is there a clause that you can break your lease if needed and pay a penalty? Not saying that you should, but you're trying to get all of the different variables that are out there. Because if they cannot break their lease, if there are some leases in which there's no clause to break the lease early and pay a penalty, that means they're committed to that lease for 9 months. If they were to leave early, they could be held liable for the entire amount of the lease. So that's something that you need to make sure that you're aware of. So then you start to put together what their needs are, what their timeline is. Then you start asking more questions about the specific property. What kind of home are you looking for? Are you looking for a single family home? Are you looking for a townhome? Are you looking for a condo? Some people may not understand the difference between townhomes and condos. And so maybe you take 15 seconds and kind of educate them about the differences. Then you start talking about nuts and bolts. How many bedrooms and bathrooms? Do you need a garage? How many will be living with you? Those kinds of things. All right. Do you have children? Yes. How many kids? 7. Okay. Are schools important? No, we homeschool. Great. So that means we're open up. Or schools are important. We want to be in this high school zone. Okay, good to know. So now you've limited your scope of this and that. You're putting together your MLS search, right? Just by naturally going down the progression. Not one of the first questions, but somewhere around the middle or end of your questioning should be, what price point are you looking at? That's a best way to ask the question about budget. Don't say, what's your budget? That is a almost demeaning question to ask somebody, because you're asking them to kind of tell you what their worth is. And so maybe they can afford $1 million, but they're looking at 600,000 or 700,000. That's their business. So what price point are you looking at? I'll try.
I got 2 minutes.
You're good. All right. So in closing, it's all about baby steps, right? You're not going to turn a cold lead into a closed buyer on a phone call. There's no magic script that gets you there. It is asking questions and then giving them next steps, right? So if they're a brand new buyer, if it's a first-time home buyer, you're going to give them just the next couple of steps. Worst thing you can do is overwhelm them with the entire process on one phone call. They're not going to hear anything that you say. So you're going to ask the questions. Once you have enough information, you're going to guide them the next steps. Okay, based on what you've told me, here's what we're going to do. First thing you got to do is lender. You can use any lender you want. If you want an amazing local lender, I've got a guy for you. If you want to go through your credit union, you want to go through your bank because you just love Bank of America, fantastic. And then I tell them, feel free to shop around and get pricing from everybody. But once you get the pre-approval, that establishes your purchasing power, right? We don't use the word budget. Budget is a bad word. We need your pre-approval to establish your purchasing power. In the meantime, I'm going to get you set up on a search of homes to match your criteria to see what's out there. And then once you have your pre-approval, we can go look at some houses and see if they hold up, if they look as good in person as they do online. Sound good? Great. Done. And make sure you follow up with an email or a text message with everything that you went over with them and the information, right? Because they may be just being polite and they may not have understood or heard what you said, but they don't want us to look like an idiot, right? Again, number one fear that you will run into is people not wanting to look like an idiot, people not willing to admit that they don't know what they're doing or they don't know what you're talking about. So don't leave it to chance. You put together a 60-second or 2-minute video that walks people through the first 3 steps of home buying. That's evergreen content, which means you can use it forever and ever. And then you give them the link to that video in your email. That way they can basically get a recap of your conversation without having to feel dumb by asking you to repeat yourself or by asking the question again. And so now you've given them everything that they need. Here's the next steps. Here's what you do. Here's who you call. And then that video leads them to your YouTube where there's more videos about buying homes and things like that. You can have a whole channel about a home buying process if you want. That's how you integrate your video content with someone that you just met, and then understand that that video content is working for you 24/7. So the more of your videos that they watch, the more they are going to like you and trust you, and the more entrenched they're going to be with you. Not everyone you send the link to is going to watch your video, but for those that do, you want to make sure that it matters, right? It's about really getting entrenched with the buyer because, again, they haven't seen you. You called them. They might have liked you on the phone, but now they need to see you in person, and they need to see what you look like. They need to see how you interact, because that's how they really get to know you. They cannot like you unless they get to know you. And it's going to seem super elementary to us, but to someone who's never purchased a home before, they have no idea where to start. They don't know to talk to a mortgage company. They don't know who to call within the mortgage company, what to ask, what to say. And then real estate agents, they don't know, do I bring a real estate agent in now? Do I bring them in later? Just make the process as easy as possible for them, and you'll be just fine.